Welcome back. Oil prices are pointing slightly higher this morning. You can see crude oil trading at $93.55. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm urging domestic oil refiners not to increase fuel exports, warning that the Biden administration could take action if plants don't build up inventories. This as the United Arab Emirates reportedly could support OPEC Plus production cuts. Joining me now, the Schork Group co-founder and principal, Stephen Schork. Stephen, it's great to see you as always. To speak to Jennifer Granholm's comments there specifically, I mean, it's not really like producers and refiners right now have the inventory to export anyway. Right now, everything they're producing is going out. That's part of the problem.
Yeah, absolutely, Jackie. So refineries are doing yeoman's work this summer, running the refineries at breakneck pace to try and get as much product to the market as possible. I think Granholm's comments once again demonstrate her utter lack of understanding how the global hydrocarbon economy works. The administration can simply, if they wanted to help alleviate shortages in local markets, rescind the Jones Act, and they refuse to do this. The Jones Act is a 100-year-old maritime law that states that interstate commerce, waterborne, has to be transacted on U.S. flagged vessels. U.S. flagged vessels, there's a small inventory of those vessels, and therefore the premium to hire those vessels is very high. So if I'm producing gasoline in Houston and I want to get into New York Harbor, there's a limit to how many U.S. flagged vessels I could put that gasoline on. Therefore, I would have to go to a foreign flag. Is much more expensive because it's going to trade at a premium to the Jones Act vessels, and that artificially raises the cost. So we're saying don't export our product, but we're hampering our ability to get that product where it's being produced domestically to get it to a domestic consumption market. Therefore, by trying to say, hey, don't export, all you're going to do create logistical nightmares. You're going to swamp certain markets. You're going to deprive other markets of products. You're going to create incredible arb opportunities. This is a boon for energy traders. It will do nothing to help alleviate the cost for the consumer at the pump.
Stephen, what do you make of how OPEC and OPEC Plus has essentially been playing this small, teeny tiny production increases that will start in the fall? Essentially, the view, or at least the talking points from the OPEC side of things is, well, if U.S. is headed into the recession, things are slowing globally. We don't want to ramp up production only for demand to fall. And so that's how they justify keeping their output pretty much constant.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's keep in mind that they're at logistical strains as well. So it's not as if they just have a reserve sitting there and they can open up a spigot. And look, it is next Monday is Labor Day. The gasoline season is over. So we are going into, regardless of recession, we are going into an area where refineries are going through their maintenance called turnarounds. They'll be buying fewer barrels of crude oil. So this is a natural time to pull back on production as we go into an area where demand is weak. And so not only are we seeing that seasonal decline in demand, but yes, the global demand, we've already seen gasoline demand this summer was extremely low relative to both a year ago and the seasonally adjusted norms. So we've already seen the impact of weaker demand, questions with regard to the health of the global economy, and we're going into a part of the season where demand is going to fall off. So if you're going to cut production, this is the correct time to do it.
All right, let's talk about Elon Musk, because the Tesla CEO made some comments this morning saying the world still needs oil and gas to sustain civilization while developing other sustainable sources of energy. Musk also saying he believes that by 2030, almost half of all cars will be made electric. Your thoughts, your comments on his view of this with respect to the short term and the long term? Obviously, this is an administration that is prioritizing electric cars and other green energy initiatives, but right now is also throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right?
Yeah, indeed. And that's been the biggest sin when it comes to energy policy with this administration. They've pursued a zero-sum green agenda. So every EV I see on the road, I have to eradicate a fossil fuel combustion engine. And clearly the economy the global economy is not there yet. We are going there. I will not argue by 2030 that we'll have a significant more amount of EVs. I myself drive an electric hybrid. This is the way the future is going, but we're trying to jumpstart it. And the global, look what's happening in Poland. They're lining up now. Consumers are lining up to buy coal going into this winter. The Germans don't have enough natural gas. They don't have enough oil to heat their homes this winter. So yes, 10 years from now, we'll be driving a lot more green cars, a lot more renewable energy, but we're not there yet. Musk gets it, Granholm doesn't.
Let me ask you about this, because some new data shows that rising energy prices are leading to higher electricity bills for Americans. And according to the National Energy Assistance Directors Association, 20 million U.S. households, 20 million, have fallen behind on their utility bills, Stephen, with some experts warning of a tsunami of cutoffs as we're heading into the fall and winter. I mean, this is part of the larger inflation problem that we're talking about, the astronomical costs of not just energy, fuel, but also food for consumers right now.
Yes, absolutely. Inflation is still high, regardless of the numbers, which were encouraging last week, but it's still high, and they're going to remain high. Crude oil prices remain above $90 a barrel. We're going into the fall harvest. We had some bad news out last week that a major refinery in the Midwest had a fire. It shut down. This is the risk what happens when you run your refineries at breakneck speed. Right. So now there's a concern with regard to diesel fuel for the fall harvest, or heating oil here in the Northeast, where 70% of the homes are used. Heating oil.
And
so
Stephen,
we are looking at,
I keep saying, God forbid we have a bad hurricane season. We keep tapping the SPR to work on fuel prices here. That's been the administration's strategy on this, and they could be really putting us in jeopardy. But we are out of time. Good to see you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.